Our correspondent in Havana, Belén de los Santos, brings us more details from an event that also celebrates teleSUR 20th anniversary. Let's see.
The fourth edition of the International Patria Colloquium has kicked off in Havana, an event that gathers journalists, influencers, and the collective experience from media outlets from across the global south to think about present challenges in digital communication. This edition also celebrates teleSUR's 20th anniversary as the news platform envisioned by Chavez and Fidel reviews its milestones in 2 decades of journalism thought from a people's perspective.
We have to make a profound reflection and stop thinking of ourselves as competitors, but also as collaborators, and decisively and consciously work on common agendas, to work in ideological exercises about what is important for the landless workers movement in Brazil, that I see them here, that their struggle agenda be also important for the community newspaper of Jujuy in Argentina, for a Chinese newspaper in Beijing, and of course, for a multi-platform such as teleSUR.
Among the main topics of discussion at this edition of the Patria Colloquium is the building of sovereign digital platforms and technologies that allow critical and anti-capitalist thought to be fostered and shared. That is to say, to imagine a technological future in which digital discourse is not dependent on capitalist platforms.
We need to create our own political horizon, technological horizon, that we have to challenge this idea that this way of doing politics is the only way, and the only ones that could think about the future is the techno capital or the big corporations. I think we can do that, and we have to do it quite fast.
In CMG, we have developed many good technology, and so we would like to take this Patria as a platform, and we would like to share our technology with all the other countries, and we would like to make the improvement together.
From Palestine to Africa and South America, for the participants of this event, the discussion goes beyond viral trends and news coverages. Coming together in Havana is the possibility to coordinate collaborative efforts to rethink the global scene by looking at the world from the perspective of the popular movements of our territories.
In a way, the movements are the source, and the point is to look into those movements. Who's saying the interesting things? Who's thinking beyond the immediate problem and trying to generalize and find a way forward, and then to try to create a kind of global left culture out of that, have those people talking to each other, sharing experiences and so on.
We are peoples weaving networks. Those are the words that accompany this edition of Patria. And it is in those connections, the sharing of common experiences and agendas, that lays the true power of the future of digital communication. Belén de los Santos, Denise Araví, for teleSUR, Havana, Cuba.
And as the fourth International Patria Colloquium continues on the second day, let's go live with our correspondent Belén de los Santos in Havana to have all the details. Hello Belén, welcome again to From the South. What can you tell us?
Hello, Luis, once again here from the University of Havana. And exactly, as you were saying, we continue at this Patria Colloquium 4th edition. We continue bringing you everything that is happening here. And as you were just mentioning, one of the highlights of today is the screening of a documentary. We are talking about digital platforms, we're talking about news, but we're also talking about how culture artifacts can also be a part of this debunking of imperialist narratives. For example, how can movies, documentaries, TV series, also productions for social media from a cultural aspect also impact in this discussion? And for this we are joined today by Hannah Craig. She is Director of Culture at the People's Forum from the US. So hello Hannah, thank you for joining us here in teleSUR English, and please tell us your perspective. Why is it important to come down here to Havana to have these discussions with partners from all around the world?
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for having me. You know, this Patria Coloquia is an incredible example of the way that people from all over the world, but particularly from the Americas, can come together to really discuss and debate the next steps that we have to take as people, because it is all of our movements, all of our people who are coming together to be able to fight against the structures of injustice that are unfortunately all around us, but that we know will be successful when we come together and able to really communicate and connect in order to make the next kind of intervention that we have to make in the world. And just like you said, we really know that culture is an important part of the way we do that. The imperialists, the ruling class, they're always using culture to try to change ideas about the way the world should be, or to try to uphold their own hegemony, to try to uphold their own culture and their own rules and laws and things. But we have to be producing our own people's culture in order to really transform the world and to be able to bring more and more people along for that journey, and in order to show the rights that we have for each other, the responsibility that we have to each other to transform the world. And what a better place to do that than Havana, where we've seen the transformation of society happen over the course of years, and the resistance to the imperialist aggression constantly. The US blockade is something that of course we all have to fight against, and we can use culture to fight against that narrative as well.
So we were saying that today we have the screening of not only a documentary, but also we've seen different experiences that are being showcased here, for example, linked to the ongoing genocide in Gaza. We've had like major attacks just overnight, breaking a ceasefire once again. This is all part of the imperialist narrative that we are day in and day out trying to expose, to debunk, to show really what is happening. And we're talking about technology, we're talking about artificial intelligence, and we're also talking about how movies and documentaries can play a significant role in how to emotionally, how to touch a different sensitivity to really transfer what is happening in the world. Can you tell us a little bit about those experiences, the screening that is happening today, just a few concrete experiences of how can art and culture affect this discussion?
Yeah, absolutely. So tonight the screening will be of the documentary Soundtrack to a Coup d'etat, which really tells the story of a lot of historical moments, but it's not just a relic of history, it's actually a call to action. The film is specifically talking about the assassination of Lumumba and the involvement of Belgium and the U.S. governments in that assassination, but also it talks about the U.S. State Department sending jazz ambassadors, so jazz performers from the U.S. to the continent of Africa in order to perform jazz as a way to kind of impose the U.S. agenda onto the people of Africa. Of course, at the same time, we also see amazing revolutionary jazz performers who also have played an important role in building a people's culture. And so these two narratives kind of push against one another. But it's important for us to have documentaries like this that do tell the real story, the real truth, expose the truth of the past, because it helps us to understand what's happening in the present. Of course, the situation in the Congo right now is extremely dire. And just like you said, the genocide in Gaza, it's been something that we've been mobilizing for around the world for decades, to be honest. And of course, in the last year and a half, it's only intensified with the genocide being so intense and so ongoing. And to all be here today on this day where the Israelis have murdered over 400, I'm sure it's more at this point, Palestinians, it's a reminder that we have to come together, we have to act, we have to be telling and exposing the truth of what is happening. And art and culture can be an important way that people are able to connect to those stories, especially because, like you said, art and culture can often be the thing that stirs someone emotionally from inside, and they're able to really connect with the real situation. It can call people to action. And so I'm part of a network of over 15,000 artists and cultural workers who are using their practices as tools against the genocide, against apartheid. It's called Artists Against Apartheid, and we think it's important for all artists and cultural workers to come together and to join the movement.
Definitely, and it's great to hear that in events such as this one, that is taking place as well. Hannah, I do not want to end our interview without asking you, the U.S. is entering a whole new stage with the second administration of Donald Trump, and that is affecting just geopolitical relations around the world with a particularly severe harsh view on the peoples of our Americas, for example. And as part of a news outlet that targets and also fosters solidarity with our peoples in the global south, how are you looking at what are the challenges of producing news and telling the state of the world today in this new stage of U.S. politics?
I mean, there are lots of challenges, but I think there are lots of opportunities as well. The current administration is really showing itself bare for what it is. And every day as the situation unfolds and there's more and more kind of devastation or destruction of people's lives inside the U.S., people being deported, people being sent to ICE detention centers who really shouldn't be there. It's opening up a lot of outlets for us to understand really what is at the root of this administration. And rather than being frozen by fear, our responsibility is actually to be out in bigger numbers than we've ever been before and really show that we're not going to let this slide. The people of the world, the people inside the U.S., but also in solidarity with the people of the entire world, are going to stand up against the attacks and the bullying of this administration and all of those on the ultra-right who are attacking people's rights. I mean, even our right to free speech is under attack right now, and it's important for us to be constantly recognizing that we're not alone, actually, that we're all together in this struggle, and it's something that will unify us. And so I think there has been a lot of fear, a lot of people saying, we'll just stay home, like there's no possibility for change, but actually exactly the opposite is true. What we're seeing even in the last couple of weeks in the U.S., tons of support and solidarity for Mahmoud Khalil, the Palestinian student who was sent to an ICE detention center after his activities as part of the Columbia University encampments against the genocide. So many people are out in the streets. We're not going to be scared by the bullying of this administration. In fact, we're going to continue to stand together, to be united, and to show the world that we're not going to stop anywhere before we get justice.
Well, the idea of weaving networks is one of the slogans of this event, so definitely we are not alone. It's great to have these discussions in this context in Havana. Hannah, thank you so much for joining us in teleSUR English. It's a pleasure to have Hannah Gregg from the People's Forum in teleSUR English. So as we have been saying for the past day, Luis, this is just some of the discussions that are being held here in the University of Havana, as you see, with people from different backgrounds, different countries, different experiences, and all focused on just a way of thinking how to keep that struggle moving around the global south and around the world. So I go back to you, Luis. Now we'll continue to keep in touch throughout the day.
Thank you, Belen, for the information. Of course, thank you to your guests, Hannah, for her inputs here from the South, everything that is happening and the impact that these kind of colloquiums can have in sharing news and experiences to continue moving forward.
The fourth edition of the International Colloquium Patria opened on Monday in Havana as journalists, communicators, and representatives of media outlets gather to address the challenges of digital communication. Our correspondent in